All right. Well, hello there. Happy New Year to all of you. I hope everybody had a fabulous New Year's Eve. I know I did. I had a fabulous New Year's Eve. I cooked up a storm and I invited some of my favorite people, and they all ate everything up. We drank a lot of champagne, and most of us made it to 12 o'clock. Not all of us. One couple, um, she was doing a little bit too much before and she fell asleep. So, but otherwise, everybody made it to 12 o'clock. We had a great time, and so I hope all of my listeners had a great time also. Um, in the winter time, now when the new year, especially with the holidays, often that is can be a trying time for people and for animals. Some of our animals, um, they just choose that time to say goodbye to us. And that is particularly sad when we've had the animal for a long time. Um, I had for the last couple of days, and I hope that's not an indication for 2015, but the last few days, I had a couple of people call and ask me what they could do because the animal was grieving. While many people don't believe that animals grieve, I do believe that very much so. I believe that animals grieve. I believe that animals have emotions. It, I do believe that they can be helped just like we can be helped with homeopathic remedies. Now, this particular German Shepherd that comes to mind right now, it's a very lovely German Shepherd, just had puppies about 4 months ago. And there were 5 or 6 puppies. And so naturally, the owner can't keep all of these puppies. And she bred the dog to have puppies and also to then sell the puppies because they are a Belgian Malamute German Shepherd. They're beautiful and um, also somewhat rare. So she called me and she said, my dog is just so sad because 4 of the puppies are gone already. And now over the holidays, the cat died too. And the cat was apparently very close to the dog. So now this poor animal had all these losses. And she won't eat, and she mopes around. And in this particular case, um, I'm pretty sure of the owner when she reports that the animal is grieving, that I can really truly say yes, very likely it is. Not always do owners recognize the animal behavior as a grieving behavior. And there's several behavior structures when an animal grieves. One of them is the obvious one, the moping around and not being joyful and not paying a lot of attention to their owners and so on. Another one is also not wanting to eat or drink. That is also an indication, can also be an indication of grieving, not necessarily being of illness. Many people think the dog is ill because it won't take food or water. Now, if a cat doesn't take food or water, I've said that many times before, that could be potentially serious if it goes over several days, because a cat will then lose the smell for food and will not eat at all, and they will literally starve themselves to death if there's not an intervention right away. But dogs, that it is not quite so serious. Um, Dogs can go for several days without food. Water um, should always be offered and should always be seen that there's at least some water. What I usually do is when I have an animal like that, is I take a large syringe and take the needle naturally off and all that. But I fill that with water and I open one side of the mouth and I just squish that water in there a couple times a day. So at least that there's some moisture there. For cats and for dogs, I will do that. But in this instance, I know that the owner of this German Shepherd, she reported it right. And the dog is really, and also what is a very good indication for grieving is when an animal whines a little bit and tries to get very close to the owner. It's being very, very close, tries to be, and whines a little and pushes their nose into the hand and cries a little bit. Also at night, when they do sleep, that they make a whining sound often. That's a good indication of grieving behavior. Um, Also hiding. Hiding is a good one. A lot of animals, when they grieve, they will hide in a corner. Especially cats do that a lot. They will go and they will bury themselves in a corner somewhere and they just won't come out. They grieve and because they have lost a friend, just like we do when people's behavior is very different. I have a client that I've had her for years and years and years. Her son died just before Christmas, and um, it was a very traumatic experience for her, as it would be for anybody. And she she removed herself really literally from the world. And when I called her, I tried to call her a couple times a week, but sometimes she answered, sometimes she didn't. But she has a lot of other friends too, and I was sure that she was well taken care of. But people behave differently. I'm a lot like that too. If I have a problem, I will go remove myself and I will see that I can sort it out myself, which is not exactly always the right thing, as we know. Sometimes we do need the interaction of our packs, as animals and as people. So anyway, after I talked to my friend about her German Shepherd, she said, "Oh, don't you know you had given me something a couple of years ago for another animal, and can you give me something for this animal?" And the first thing that naturally came to mind is Ignatia. Ignatia is a remedy that we use for grieving. Um, for any kind of grieving. Like it may be grieving because you are ill, or for humans and for animals. For animals, I would usually use 30C, and if it's a cat, I would put it into the drinking water, just a little bit in the drinking water. Let the cat choose itself. If it's a dog or a horse, I've had horses that grieved um, because their companion or their stablemate left because of I had a bad accident with the horse, or the horse had a bad accident, ran into a car, broke its leg, and had to be destroyed. But the other horse that was its stablemate was very much taken by that. And so then we give Ignatia 30C. And usually then 1 or 2 doses should be more than enough. If it's longer, if it takes longer, I would not overdo Ignatia, but I would give it for if you give a water dose, like for instance, if you put the homeopathic remedy into water and give it in small drops, like a dog, pull it up with a syringe and give a small drop into the mouth. Then you can do it maybe twice a day until the animal perks up a little bit. If you grieve uh, over the same animal or over the same incident, well, you take a dose yourself. It'll help yourself. Um, if the dog is rather restless at night because it's looking and searching for the companion, then I would use rescue remedy in the evening. Rescue remedy in the evening usually is a good indication, and they will settle down and usually sleep. Ignatia should be given more so in the morning. It's a better indication in the morning. Um, if there are other animals around, if it's not just 2 animals, but there's like we have 3 dogs and we have 3 cats. The 2 other animals that are left usually start to bond a little bit more again. Like, remember the last time I told you about when my little Charlie was missing? The other 2 dogs were not exactly subdued, but they were sort of looking at me like, "What happened? Isn't he coming? Isn't he coming?" You know, they would go to the door once in a while and look, and every time they heard something outside, they would jump up and bark. Well, we all took a little rescue. I took a little rescue. The dogs took a little rescue, and we all settled down and we tried to get through the night in our anxiety. And that is really very good advice that with animals that unfortunately they will leave us, like we also have to leave this earth. But this is the time of the year when often that happens. In the winter time, I don't know why that is in the winter time more so, but it does happen. Um, Now, if you live in the south and you have, um, spiders and snakes and stuff running around. I had a call from a lady who has a small to medium-sized dog, and she said, and she has been a client before, and so she described this, and she said, the dog is really breathing very heavily, and he doesn't, it's not able really to stand up. I mean, he sort of weaves around when he stands up, and there's a big lump on the side of his abdomen. And I thought, well, did he get hit by any moving vehicle or by anything? No, we ruled all of that out. And the dog really got worse as the week progressed. Whenever he was picked up, he would cry out very pitiful right away. It obviously was very distressing to him. And he drank a lot more than normally. Then his vision deteriorated. And that I was really getting, he was bumping into furniture, and I was really getting very worried about that. He didn't want to really eat. He would nibble a little bit on uh, food, but he didn't really want to eat. A remedy that I had given once before to him, because he had uh, also issues with food and didn't want to eat, and he had some urinary problems. We gave him that remedy, but it didn't work very well. So I had them do a little video with their camera, and I looked at the dog and I said, you know what? This dog was probably bitten by something. And then I told her to look under the fur where the lump was, if there was a bite mark or if there was a discoloration. And sure enough, there was a bluish spot, really circular bluish spot there. And he was bitten by a poisonous spider, or maybe a small little snake or whatever. Well, we gave him lachesis, which is a remedy that will help with poisonous bites for people and animals. And I asked her to give him the remedy 3 times a day. Well, within a few days, even the second day, he was eating already normally. The third day, the swelling was down. And the fourth day, he was almost himself. Not quite. He still had a little bit of unsteadiness. I told her to keep repeating the remedy. But that is, again, a very good indication of how homeopathy can help very quickly, and help also when we think there's nothing to be done. And sometimes the reason why I started off with grieving animals, sometimes animals, when they are sick, they are like they're grieving. They hide. They will not. They will not eat. They don't really want any interaction with us. And so it's up to us then to really say, well, let me see. Let's take stock here. Is there a temperature? Is there swelling? Is there also a very good indication is that we lift up the side of the lip, the mouth, the left, we call it in German Leftzen, but just lift it up and feel there if there is a lot of saliva there. If there's a lot of saliva, that's not really normal. And if it's not a dog that has a lot of saliva. Cats usually don't have that much saliva. But if the gums look healthy and pale and not bright red, that's a good indication. If there's a lot of dryness in the mouth, it may not be grieving. It may be that the animal is in some kind of medical distress. Also, if you watch them and they retain urine or feces, That also can be a very good distress signal. And that's not necessarily grieving then. So it's up to us to really monitor and see and keep a good record and really keep watch over your animal. With horses, it's the same thing. I mean, I have, as you guys know, I have two horses and that I enjoy very much. But the issues come up, and um, one of my horses is very jealous of the other one, and she bosses the male around. Well, probably when he first came, she was really she really enjoyed my one horse. She enjoyed being the princess here. She got very spoiled, and so she didn't like really having another animal there right away. And um, now seem to be friends, but that's a year later. But what I did is I supported it again with homeopathy, and I supported it also with giving her the same amount of attention that I gave her before. Just because I had this new horse, that didn't mean that I was giving him more attention and leaving her aside. And that's also a very good thing. When we have a new, because many times around Christmas time, we think we want to have a new animal. If we have children, they might get a puppy for Christmas. And if we have already another animal there, that puppy may get all the attention. And our older animal sort of gets taken for granted. Well, just think about the way you would feel if you would be taken for granted. And your husband or your wife takes another spouse and puts you aside. Not very nice feeling, right? So animals feel a lot like that. Not quite so much. I don't want to read in that they have the same emotional makeup that we have. However, they are very similar to us in many ways. So when you have a new baby, don't forget the old baby. Give the old one the same attention that you gave before, um, because they need to understand that they're still there, and they still count in the pack because you're their pack. You know. Now cats, they don't seem to have a big problem with all of this. Cats are a lot less social. They get along really very well by themselves. However, I have never ever seen a cat that really was super playful and really like a happy cat when it was a cat all by itself. I've never seen that. Everybody always says cats are, lonely animals or loners. They like being by themselves. I don't think so. I don't think any animal or any entity really likes being themselves. And I have news for you. Not even plants like to be by themselves. They like to have other plants around them. And they do better if there is others of their kind around. But even if it's not their kind, we see all the time on YouTube, on television, everywhere, where the most unlikely animals make friends. Like an elephant makes friends with a dog. A cat makes friends with a bird. Um, Well, I mean, even people in isolation, people who are in isolation, uh, in like in jail, they will train a cockroach just for companion. They will pet, have a cockroach pet if they can find one. In the older days, you could probably in these sterile cells that they have today, they probably can't even find that. But that interaction with another living thing is something that is super, super needed. And I really would like for all of us to remember that also with our fellow beings. We have a friend who um, was always been even though he's been single for a long, long time, he has, for the last few years, he's now in his 80s, and for the last few years, he has lived totally on his own. He does, he does make a habit of going out and seeking others, but he doesn't have very many friends. And the last time I saw him, I was appalled of how sad and how old he looked. We are all about the same age, and we look so different, and we're so different in behavior because we keep our friends and we keep our acquaintances, and that is such an important thing, and that's important for animals, and that's important for us. We need to have that. No remedy, no medicine will be as much as the interaction with another being. That is just one of the most important things. And for 2015, I really hope that all of you remember that. Just because we have the internet and just because we have all of these other communications with us, they are not the same. I tell you a little story of what they just found. I just read it in the news about how babies' brains develop. And when I was a young girl, I grew up in Berlin, and there was East and West Berlin. And in East Berlin, I grew up in West Berlin, but I spent a small amount of time in East Germany uh, for reasons that I won't really talk about right now here. But I was there, and they had a lot of, I don't know uh, if you know anything about it, very likely not, but the communists had a lot of political and mind indoctrinations. They do that in North Korea, they do that in Cuba, and all the communists, they feel that if they brainwash you into their way of thinking, um, then their regime will survive. Well, we know that that doesn't work. But besides the point, um, they were saying that a baby, or claiming that a baby from the time it's born until it's 3 years old, it doesn't need any other interaction but being well fed and being clean and safe. It doesn't need anything else. Um, in Bulgaria and in the Czechoslovakia, they did the same thing, and we saw of how terrible that was. Well, nothing could be further from the truth. It is so, that's not even then I thought that that was really a lot of malarkey. But now they have the scientific evidence, and here goes. They have found and tested babies from the time that they were like 2 months old, not even a month old, to the time that they all through until I think they were 8 or 9 years old, and they saw the social interaction and the brainwave interaction of how they communicate. And they saw that until 3 years old, a baby forms most of the synapses for their brain. The more they were talked to, the more interaction they had with their parents and their caregivers, the bigger the brain was, and the better they communicated, and the smarter they were. Now, they also said if that is so, that interaction is the key here to build more of a brain. What about if we sit the baby like from 1 to 3 years old, whenever we can, in front of the TV and have them watch all these brain, these, uh, I don't know, Sesame Street and all of these programs that are supposed to enhance brain. Ah, 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 ah. These children did not have the same amount of brain waves. They did not have the developmental um, progress that was between humans. And here's my point. Television and internet, all of that is great. However, we need the interaction between people until we are dead, not just until we are 5 or 6 years old or 10 years old. We need the interaction. And our animals know that. All of our animals know that. And they seek the same. So playing with your animal, teaching them, especially when they're puppies, teaching them, being around them is super important for them and for you, and for you. So I urge anybody who doesn't have a pet yet or who has room for another pet, go to the Humane Society, pick out another unfortunate little pet, and bring it into your home if you can, because you do very, very nice karma for yourself. And um, it really does a lot more for you probably than for the pet, because it makes you live longer, makes you live healthier. Your mindset is so much better, and you will be happier. And if you're happier, your stress have less stress, and less stress is more health. So there, happy New Year to everybody. Live a stress-free life with your pets, with your fellow human beings, and I will soon see you. And as we had advertised before, we very likely will change the time of this broadcast. So stay tuned, send us an email. I still haven't heard from too many of you. I want to hear more of you. If you have any questions about homeopathy, if you have a pet that you need any advice, please email me, homeop, homeopath, the number 4, me at live.com. Homeopath for me at live.com. Happy New Year, all of you. And I wish you a healthy year. 2015 is going to be wonderful.
Yes, it
Bye
will.
for now. Yes, it will, Amnon. And I am so happy I'm allowed to do this show. I really would like to express of how much happiness it brings me, because I really feel that I am somehow, the vibes are coming through. Somehow I feel that the listeners out there, I am doing a little bit of good. And hopefully we will get more information on how much good we are doing, Amnon. Huh?
Yep.
And we will decide tonight of when the next show will be, and we will broadcast it, and I will send out also on Twitter and Facebook
Right.
uh,
And
the new time.
yep.
All
All
right.
right. Thank you,
Bye
Gisela.
bye, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Your Healthy Pet with Gisela DiCarlo. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.